Yo guys, what is up? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be going through all of game week 9 of the Premier League. And what a game week it was. Oh my god. Yesterday was mouth watering. When I tell you yesterday was the best game week in terms of just that one result, we all know what I'm talking about. It really was. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, in the first part of game week 9, so game week 9 started on a Friday, and it started off with an Arsenal win. Now, Arsenal played Aston Villa in a game where they didn't have to win, and to be honest, most people expected Arsenal to lose, considering since Aston Villa have come back to the Premier League, Arsenal have beaten them once, and Mikel Arteta has not beaten them like at all. So it was a little bit shocking to see them win. What was more shocking was Thomas Partey scored a goal. No, I'm kidding. Thomas Partey scored. It was a little bit of a surprise considering he's been here for more than a year and hasn't scored. So wasn't exactly wasn't exactly like a threat you'd think. But he scored. It was an assist from Smith Rowe. Aubameyang scored off a missed penalty, which was a penalty by the way for anyone saying it wasn't. I saw some Villa fans say it wasn't. Very delusional. But Emil Smith Rowe capped off the game in at the 56th minute, scoring with an assist from Aubameyang. It was a deflected goal. It went off Mings and deceived Martinez. But to be honest, Emil Smith Rowe is so talented that like he if he continues this run of form and this run of this run of form, if he can continue it, his talent is through the roof. So there's no telling where he can go. And fair play to Mikel Arteta. He's clearly figured out a system where he's trying to get the best out of most of his players. He immediately adapted his game from the Crystal Palace game. He saw that just Aubameyang wasn't working, and he switched it to Aubameyang and Lacazette, and they were very good against Aston Villa. And Arsenal have weirdly been on good form for themselves. They've only lost they've only lost 3 games this season out of a possible 9 in the Premier League and 10 in all competitions because they don't have any European football. So it could have been way worse. And I'm I'm sorry, they've played 11 games. I beg your pardon because they had to play in the Carabao Cup round 2 and 3 because they finished uh, below the top 8, I think. So yeah, you have to play in the 2 rounds of the Carab. They finished eighth, and that means you have to play round 2 and round 3. Eight and below play round 2 and 3. So they've played 10 games and they've lost three. One one against Villa, one against Tottenham, one against Wimbledon, one against Burnley, one against Norwich, drawn against Palace, drawn against Brighton, one against West Brom, and lost against Chelsea and Brentford. They've not had that bad of a season as people were making it out to be. And Villa did get a consolation, but for Dean Smith's men, it's been a poor season for the money they spent. And after that Man United win at Old Trafford, the way they won, you'd think they would have beaten Arsenal, and you think they would have carried on their form. But in fact, since that game, they haven't won. They've lost to Tottenham. They through the derby against Wolves, being 2-0 up with 15 minutes to go, and they threw the game. And they've now lost to a Arsenal side on good form, but let's be honest, this is a very easily beatable Arsenal side. So they need to have a look at themselves and they need to change something because it's not working. And moving on to the first round of Saturday fixtures. So Chelsea started off the Saturday round of fixtures with a with a th- I'm out of words because of how good Chelsea were, and I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be very honest. I kind of predicted Norwich to win. Like I was telling my friends that Norwich are probably gonna win this because Chelsea don't have Werner or Lukaku, and not only did not only did Chelsea win, but they won by 7 goals, looking arguably the most fluid I've ever seen them under Thomas Tuchel. This is the best performance I've seen from Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea. Yes, I know they've won the Champions League, but if I'm talking strictly of goals and performance and goals, like the two of them, this is the best. And it was a Mason Mount hat trick with goals from Ben Chilwell, who's on a rich vein of form, and Callum Hudson-Odoi and Reece James and a Max Aaron's own goal. Brilliant performance from Thomas Tuchel's man. But I'm not even going to talk about Norwich because if I do, I'm going to start yelling. So I'm just not going to talk about him. I'm just going to be very, very brief. They don't deserve to be in the Premier League, and the EFL should legitimately stop them from getting promoted. Just make it so that they get to like a stage in the season where even if they win it, they are not allowed to get promoted because it's a disgrace. Norwich City are a disgrace. And moving on to the 6 p.m. kickoff games. So we have four of these. So the first of the well, it doesn't really matter what order, but the first of the four was a draw between Crystal Palace and Newcastle. Again, Crystal Palace were actually, you'd say, the better side. Newcastle got a good goal, but it wasn't like it was a deserved one. And Crystal Palace will feel hard done by Christian Benteke could have had four goals. He had a goal disallowed, hit the bar once and the post and scored. Really, really not a good performance in terms of clinicality. However, Crystal Palace this is the most possession Crystal Palace has ever kept in a Premier League game. 78% was recorded. So you can see the identity Patrick Vieira is trying to impose on his players. And it'll be intriguing to see how they do against City. Will they go back to their old ways of not keeping the ball? Or will they still try to go like compete with City for the ball? And the game against City is this Saturday, so that'll be intriguing. And moving on to one of the shocks of the week. Watford gave Claudio Ranieri his first win. Oh, what the hell, man? I just predicted last week. I said Claudio Ranieri is going to be gone in the next week, possibly, and give it 3 weeks tops, and he's gone. I mean, I know this could still happen, but it doesn't look likely because I was more impressed by Watford's spirit, but not only that, their performance was much better than Everton. Going to Goodison is not an easy stadium. Hell, playing Everton in general is not easy. Man United couldn't even beat Everton, but we'll talk about them in a couple of minutes. But talking about Watford and Everton in this game in specific, well, first of all, from Everton, it was an awful performance, and this is what I said at the start of the season in our Premier League prediction video. Once Everton go through a patch where they can't win in 3 or 4 games, if they lose their next 2 games, they will be on that patch of form, the fans are gonna start calling for Rafa's head. This is how it works. Don't be shocked. And as for Watford, it was a brilliant performance from Josh King, and he must have loved this hat trick. It's scoring a hat trick is always a special moment for any player, but to do it against a club who you were employed at for a full year and didn't get any Premier League minutes in must have felt good. And fair play to him. He's clearly showing what Everton could have done with, considering both Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin have been injured for practically the whole season. So Everton maybe could have done with someone like Josh King this season. But anywho, moving on to Leeds United versus Wolves. This was a very, very thrilling game to watch. Leeds actually played much better, considering they were missing the likes of Patrick Bamford. You you would expect them to possibly falter. They were also missing Robin Koch, Junior Firpo, and Luke Eiling. So it could have they could have faltered, and they almost did. But Rodrigo went full Jamie Vardy. He scored a last minute penalty and he broke the corner flag. And you can look at the passion of these Leeds players. And don't get me wrong, they're still not comfortable and they're just 3 points above the relegation zone. But you can see that this was much needed because if they lose this game, they're things get a little bit more complicated than they probably needed to be. So they was a much needed point. As for Wolves, they'll be disappointed, but they're on a 4 game unbeaten streak, which is pretty good considering like 2018 was the last time they went on a 3 game win streak. So the fact they didn't lose, it's pretty good, and they're showing a little bit more consistency under Bruno Lage. They just need to find a formula between playing good football, which is what they were doing at the start of the season, but they were losing games, and playing poor football but winning games, which is what they have been doing for the last 3 4 games. So they just need to find like a formula that goes kind of in between of the two, if that makes sense. So yeah, moving on to the last of the 6 o'clock games on Saturday. It was a thrilling game, weirdly. It was a thrilling game from Burnley versus Southampton. Burnley remain in the relegation zone. However, Maxwell Cornet has shown that if he can stay fit, the guy has immense talent and pace. And the second goal he scores, wow, what a strike! As for Southampton, it was a good, not very good goal, but it was a decent goal from Livramento from a corner. Broha scoring a nice Southampton counter attack, which means he's got 2 and 2, and it was a nice point for both teams. I don't think either team will complain too much, to be honest, because yeah, I just don't think they're in any position to complain. However, Southampton are not too far off the relegation zone, and they need to be wary. They need to win more games. To be honest, Southampton, they need to win more games, and they'll be a bit gutted considering they went 1-0 behind and made it 2-1, but couldn't hold on to the win. Moving on to Manchester City versus Brighton, which was the later kickoff at 8:30. It was a brilliant performance from Pep Guardiola's men. I say performance, but it only had to be a good half hour because in 30 minutes they were 3-0 up. A brace from Phil Foden and a goal from Ilkay Gundogan after it had, it had been seen that Gabriel Jesus looked to have fouled Robert Sanchez. However, when you look again, it's actually not true, making it 3-0 for Manchester City inside 30 minutes, and the game was over. Brighton got a penalty to make things interesting after controlling most of the second half. Around the 80th minute, they got their penalty. Poor goalkeeping from Ederson, poor decision making, you could say. However, there was a clear offside, so I think the referees were asleep at Stockley Park because I don't know how you don't see that, and because they were spending so much time in showing the replays to me on my TV. So I thought like I could see it. Why can't you see it? When you're showing me the replay, surely you yourself look at it, right? But anyways, if it had impacted the result, there would have been a lot of controversy around it. But Man City, after not being very good in the second half, controlled the last 15 minutes like they should. Didn't let the game get out of their hand. Didn't let the Brighton fans, who by the way, fair play, Brighton fans are always good, and they were excellent again. Who they impacted the second half a lot because they were very helpful to the team to push. Obviously, the tactical switch Graham Potter made to go from a 3 to a 4 helped as well. But Manchester City didn't pay much attention, and Phil Foden didn't get himself a hat trick, but he got himself the assist, unselfishly laying it off for Mahrez, who took his time and scored a brilliant goal. And it was a very good goal from Riyad Mahrez, and Manchester City looked good again, winning 3 in the Premier League for only the second time this season. And if they win against West Ham and Crystal Palace, that means that they they've hit not 3 in the Premier League. Sorry, they've won 3 in all competitions, and they would have hit a good vein of form going into the Manchester derby. But that's irrelevant for now. Moving on to the Sunday round of the game week 9 fixtures. So look, obviously this was overshadowed by one result and one result only, but we have to talk about the other two results because they were very important results for both West Ham and Leicester. Leicester looked to have regained a lot of confidence after that Man United win because they've beaten Spartak away and they've beaten Brentford away as well, with James Madison scoring, with Patson Daka assisting, and I'm sure the Irish guy is probably furious about that. But as for Brentford, it's not been the best 4 games. Taken one out of a possible. They've taken 4 out of a possible 12 points. But considering their opposition, I mean, they've played West Ham, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Leicester. So, but I don't know. I always thought Leicester were going to win this game because I thought that that Man United win was always going to be season defining for one side. And talk about season defining, we will talk about Man United in a minute. But it was a good win for Leicester overall, and Brentford will be disappointed, but I'm sure they'll bounce back. And lastly, before moving on to the biggest game, possibly the biggest result in Premier League in 2021, in the Premier League in 2021. We talk about West Ham versus Spurs. West Ham beat Spurs. It was a really boring game. Like I fell asleep watching this game because Spurs are so boring. Oh my god, I'm not even gonna waste time on this. Antonio scored. West Ham deserved to win. Harry Kane was poor for the goal. He should not be letting Antonio push him away like he did. And Nuno out is was something that most Tottenham fans are agreeing on. And yeah, I mean, I don't. There's not much to say about Tottenham. They're just really boring, so I don't want to waste time talking about them because we have to talk about Manchester United nil, Liverpool 5 at Old Trafford. It was a Mo Salah hat trick with goals from Naby Keita and Diego Jota along with that hat trick. I'm actually a little bit lost for words with this one because I did not expect Liverpool to win 5-0, and I'm going to be honest, Liverpool weren't that good. I know that sounds stupid, but if you watch the game, it was so open. But Man United, my God, what was their defensive structure? It looked like they didn't have one. It was pathetic from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who, unlike the title of the video, I do think he needs to get sacked. I'm gonna title this video Ollie needs to be backed and trusted, but the fact is he doesn't. He doesn't. Let's be honest. He's been backed, he's been trusted, and he isn't the man. And before the season gets irretrievable, Manchester United have to make a call and sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They have to do it. I hope they don't do it before the Manchester derby, but that's because obviously Manchester City is a team I support, and I know we can beat this side. Not saying that we will, but I know that we can. But for the talent they have to concede 5 to Liverpool at Old Trafford, the look on Sir Alex Ferguson's face compared to I think it was Kenny Dalglish. Oh my God, it was a little bit. Uh, that alone, not the game itself, the result itself was hilarious. Like I was dying of laughter every time Liverpool scored. But that thing, it did dishearten me a little bit. I don't like Manchester United. I hate them, and I don't have anything for Liverpool either. I hate their fan base. But it was a little bit sad to see Sir Alex Ferguson look so gutted, and he looked broken, and it really showed his love for Manchester United. But what a performance from Jurgen Klopp's men, who I think we have to give a quick mention to. They have been stunning this season, and they really, really are. Like I said in our Premier League prediction video, they are the biggest threat to Manchester City. You would not see Chelsea or even Manchester City rock up to Old Trafford and beat them 5-0. That much I can assure you. So, clearly, Jurgen Klopp is Pep Guardiola's biggest threat, and you can see why by today's performance and today's scoreline more so. So, yeah, moving on to the table after 9 games. Again, the table doesn't change much every game week, but there have been some noticeable drops. So Manchester United are now 7th. Arsenal are level on points with Manchester United, and if Manchester United fail to beat Tottenham and Arsenal beat Leeds, which is looking likely considering, Arsenal's form, Leeds' form, and Man United will probably draw with Tottenham. Arsenal will be two no, will they be? Yeah, they will be 2 points clear of Manchester United. Need I remind you, Arsenal had not scored a goal until the fourth game week, and until the sixth game week, until the start of the sixth game week, they had only scored 2 goals, conceding 5 to Man City, 2 to Brentford, and 2 to Chelsea, conceding 9, scoring 2. So what a recovery it has been from Mikel Arteta. There have been bumps. The Palace draw, not the most ideal result, but overall, the last 5, 6 games have been more encouraging, and his project is coming to vision. As for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, his project is going out of vision. And I think an honourable mention needs to be given to Brighton and West Ham. Obviously, look, the top 3, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, there's only 2 points separating third and first. So really and truly, one slip up from either Chelsea or Liverpool gives City a route back in, and one slip up for City gives West Ham a route in. And that leads me nicely on to West Ham and even Brighton. Both teams are coached by really good managers. I think Graham Potter and David Moyes deserve a lot of respect and fair play to them. They have, especially David Moyes. I think Graham Potter, I'm going to wait for this season because David Moyes, I had the whole of last season and him getting Europa League, good. But his West Ham side being in the top 4 plus being perfect in the Europa League group without even conceding a goal in 3 games, I think it's been a very, very good start for David Moyes. And you know what? I think he deserves it. After the couple of years he had at Manchester United, I really do think he deserves it. And yeah, as for Graham Potter, look, it's been a little bit of a rocky couple of games for Brighton, but they're still in the top 5. And for Brighton to be in the top 5 almost a third into the season is a big achievement in that itself, to be honest, considering they've almost already got half the amount of wins they get in a Premier League season. Because as we know, Brighton always get 9 wins in a Premier League season. So for them to get 4 already, it's a pretty big step. So yeah, and one final word on Manchester United before I finish the video. Look, I've heard a lot of people defend Oni and Gary Neville, and especially Gary Neville, and a little bit of Rio Ferdinand. I think you guys need to look yourselves in the mirror and ask yourself, do you have the best intentions for Man United or for your friend? Because fair play to Paul Scholes. He came out after the Atalanta game and said, if you do that first half against Liverpool or City, you are 4-0 down. Manchester United were 4-0 down at halftime. Rio Ferdinand, for that same Atalanta game, said, well, Scholes, you shouldn't get, you should be happy that the mentality and all of that. And Scholes agreed, but he did say it doesn't matter. They shouldn't have been 2-0 down in the first place. And Rio Ferdinand and Gary Neville, disgraceful punditry from both of them. I have been ashamed with the standard, especially from Gary Neville. Rio Ferdinand, I always knew he had a bit of a delusional side to him. The stuff he said about the Newcastle, uh, previous Newcastle ownership, which was Mike Ashley, defending him and stuff, always knew he had a bit of a delusional side to him. But Gary Neville, after everything you did for football, you and Jamie Carragher did for football, in terms of being our spokesman, after everything you've done with the overlap, it's appalling. It is appalling that you cannot be unbiased. And you do not deserve to be a pundit if you cannot differentiate between your friend and your club. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is their friend. He is their mate, as Mark Goldbridge would say. But that does not excuse the fact that they have lost to Liverpool 5-0 at Old Trafford. Let that sink in. Yeah, that's what I thought. So that tells you the story. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'm sure Man United fans haven't enjoyed this one. But stay safe and peace out.